Endtime Signals is the 13th full-length album from Gothenburg, Sweden-based melodic metal band Dark Tranquillity. Now, this band they've changed so much over the years, either because members left or different songwriters kind of took the forefront of the band and their collective, that there's too much to say about them. Obviously my interest is the where they started and the first maybe 10 years or so, where they evolved from pretty much one of the inventors of the style of melodic death metal into a band that was more concerned with popular melodic metal, without losing kind of who they were. They never became a full-on pop metal band. They kind of are now, but there's different offshoots where they've poured that interest in depending on who the member was and where they took it. So again, there's too much to say about this band that going through the full 13 album discography is kind of ridiculous. I've done it before with other bands, but I think really, if there's any chance that you're going to like this record, it's probably because you started following their work or appreciating their work beyond 2007 or so. That really is where it's coming from. This one is maybe a little bit heavier, quote unquote, but that'll depend on your point of view and kind of who the main songwriter you enjoy most is in the band. I think if you're a fan of keyboardist Martin Brandstrom, and you like albums like Character and Fiction, you'll appreciate what this record is doing, because it does throw back to that era where there's a little bit of melodic death metal still in their sound. It still was their signature back then, but they were focusing on more poppy alternative metal type ideas and using a lot more keyboards and electronic beats and that kind of thing to infuse something new into their sound after some of the main members had left. I kind of lost interest after Projector. I liked Projector a bit, but beyond that point, I just kind of moved on to other bands. And so this kind of song that I'll play in the clip here might hit you as a shock if you haven't listened since 1999. The silent ways of those who scar the distant shore, too far away to not divide. We must be called by the coming. So, without further qualifying what Dark Tranquillity is or isn't these days, they have other side projects that cover a lot of what they did in the past, from Grand Cadaver to the Halo Effect and on. And I think Michael Stan even has a kind of a gothic rock or gothic metal band, Cemetery Skyline, which does something a little bit new these days. So if you want something that you felt in the past, it's probably in one of their side projects or other bands that are still attributing this style. Now, what you're getting from Dark Tranquillity today is something a little bit more lively, something a little bit darker, something with a little bit of a personal bit of hope there on this record. And for me, it boils down to way too many songs trying to do everything that people might want to hear from Dark Tranquillity. This does feel like a record that wanted to give the fans and the sound enough due attention. They wanted to cover as much ground as possible. And there are so many songs on this record that it loses focus quickly. I felt the same way about the most recent Rotting Christ record, where it was just trying to do too much. It was two records at once, and none of it was all that good. It was kind of, they were just spitballing a lot of ideas. The good thing about Dark Tranquillity is that they're very good at writing catchy songs still, and I think that the new kind of songwriting duo that took over most of this record, including the new guitarist, they wrote a catchy album. There's the first 5 or so songs all kind of hit, and if you're looking for something that is a little bit kind of radio metal but not quite, there's you get the personality of Dark Tranquillity that they formed between 2002 and about 2016. It's there, and it's fairly bold in what it has to say, and it's a sensitive melodic metal band. What else can I really say? Does it resemble death metal? Well, no. If you're expecting death metal from Dark Tranquillity in 2024, you're kind of a dumbass, because it's just, they're definitely touching back upon some of their more aggressive side. They're bringing in a little bit more mid-pace speed. Overall, we do get more death metal vocals and the harsher rasps and whatnot, but these are popular, heavy rock songs from my point of view. You can call it metal if you'd like, but that's not really the point that I would make here. It's that these are melody-driven pieces that are meant to be catchy and cathartic. And if you're not interested in that kind of more mainstream and accessible side of things, you are probably not going to like anything on this record. But I can appreciate a good song. There are some good songs on here. I think that they get lost a bit in all. I think there's like 14 pieces on here, plus some bonus tracks. And for me, just it had too much to say. It was just too long of an album, and I felt like some of these ideas either repeat themselves a little bit too often in their sentiment, and they don't really move on to enough variety. Or there's other moments where there's too much variety, and I didn't really feel there was a pocket or a focus found on this album that would grant it a very pleasurable repeat listening experience. So it's a chopped up album that works and sometimes and doesn't work other times. And for me, the temperament of it was interesting, but the overall effect of it was just a little bit above average. I would say this is a fairly high score for me in terms of the last, I would say, six or so Dark Tranquillity records. I think this is one of their better overall showings. And, I appreciate a band that's been around this long isn't so cynical that they're putting out fucking AI album art covers and just cheaping it out just so they can kind of move on and go tour. So I think there was some care put into this record. There's quite a lot of work put into this record. There's a lot of catchy songs. And if you're just looking for melodic metal, you could definitely go worse places. I think this is still a respectable band and one that still has some passion for what they're doing. Even if the songwriting really isn't always for me, there were catchy moments, things that are worth remembering. And even just thinking about a couple of these songs and seeing their name, it catches in the head, and I can hear that melody again. So there's still something to what they're doing. It's not always for me. It is still above average. So check it out for yourself. It releases today on August 16th. And read my review for more of my thoughts on past and present and what I think of just Dark Tranquillity in general and how their kind of path has led over the years. So check that out and see what you think.
We set our sights too far. We narrowed our scope.